Okay, in this lesson we are going to open an image in Photoshop and convert it to black and white. There's a lot of ways to do the same things in Photoshop. I am showing you the simplest way, and for a reason of wanting you to learn to understand the histogram. So down the road in a few weeks we'll be using another method, but for now we're going to use the following method. So I'm going to look at my rated images only, because these are the ones that made the cut. So here's an image. I'm going to right click and I am going to open with Adobe Photoshop. So now my image is open in Photoshop. Okay, I will move my layers palette up to the right so it's easy for you to see. Layers palette, you need to have that accessible. If you don't see it, go up to Window and scroll down to Layers. If it's not checked, that's why you can't see it. If it's checked, it is on your screen somewhere. It's a little bit hard to find at times. Anyway, I've moved it up so it's easier for you to see. So now I have my Layers palette. In that palette, you see what looks like, students call it a half moon. This is known as an adjustment layer in the Layers palette. So I'm going to click and hold, and now I'm going to scroll down to Hue and Saturation. Hue and Saturation. So now I have my Hue and Saturation adjustment layer in my Layers palette, and now my adjustment panel opens. Again, I'm moving that over so you can see it more easily. So I'm going to take the saturation and move it all the way to the left, minus 100. You can see on the screen that it is in fact has the color taken out. The beautiful thing about using adjustment layers is that they're non-destructive, so I can go back to this and change it later on if I choose to. Back in my Layers palette, I'm going to turn the visibility of the Hue and Saturation layer off, so now you can see what was going on in Photoshop before. Here's my original shot, which is my background layer. That's what Photoshop identifies your photograph as once you open that file. So here's my original layer, and here's my adjustment layer where I pull the color out. Looks good so far. The next thing I have to do is, again, going down to adjustment layers, click on that selection and choose levels. This is what's very important, that you start to really fully understand your histogram. You see now in my adjustments panel I have what's known as a histogram. You read it in the book, and we'll talk more about it in class. We'll look at the sampling of some of our images that way. On the left, this represents the blacks in the photo. On the right, this slider represents the white in the photo. In the middle are our midtones or grays. Ultimately, you want your blacks to be really rich and not what we often call flat. We want them to be rich. So I'm going to click and drag this slider over so that it is more lined up with the edge of this histogram. You saw when I did that the blacks in the image got darker. If I go too far, I lose detail. As soon as I lose detail, I've gone too far. So I'm going to try that. I'm doing the same thing with the whites. I'm going to click on the white slider, and if I move it again too far to the left, really terribly overexposed. So I wouldn't obviously move it that far. That looks pretty good. May change it down the road, but for now, that looks good. Again, I'm going to turn the visibility off in my Layers palette of levels so you can see before and after. That's what the effect of that levels layer is doing. At this point, I'll make sure to save my document. Save as. I like to give this a logical name, so I'm going to give this an underscore BW. Makes it quicker for me to find it later on. I will also be sure I know where my image is going by opening up this expanded window. So save as, Now I can be sure, oh, okay, where is it going? If I click on TV Studio, it's telling me. I'm signed into Photos, which is my server. In your case, you'll look at your portable drive or your desktop, depending on where you're working. And then you have to navigate to the proper folder. Studio is good for me. I'm saving it as a Photoshop document because I want to maintain my layers. I'm not compressing it, I'm not flattening it. I'm saving what's known as my working file. I've saved it. Maximize compatibility. OK. And now I've saved this document.